Just this first weekend, y'all are obviously going to a pretty good field of teams. What are you hoping to at least learn about your team through the first week?
Oh, well, I think the biggest thing most coaches are curious about is just how their teams are going to handle adversity and how their teams are going to handle things that don't go exactly as planned. Obviously wanting to see us gel and looking forward to seeing us play someone other than ourselves. But it's the unexpected that I think I want to see how we respond to. And just, I mean, that's going to show the character of this team. So that's the big question that we have for early games.
Porter.
Coach, I just really wanted to ask about when you're learning about your new team and the lineups and having the stacked lineup you have in your lineup, knowing that you can kind of move pieces around up and down the order. How much do you think that's going to help you this year in getting ready for the season?
Well, I think it helps a lot. It always is nice to have really strong options. And I think for us, it's just kind of working out the best combination of that, offensively and pitching staff wise, defensively. And so there's a lot of really strong players. There's a lot of moving pieces. So it's going to be, kind of trying to figure that out early and us get as comfortable with that as possible, as quickly as possible.
And last thing for me, just with the changes in the coaching staff, how has that really kind of affected your approach to this season and new players and new coaching staff? What obstacles have you seen with that this year?
I haven't seen a lot of obstacles. More so, it's just us learning each other. It's us figuring out how each other work and what each other needs. And so I think it's just where it was already kind of known what in-game looks like and what the weekend looks like and the prep, now it's just a different spin on it, but it's fresh and it's I wouldn't call it an obstacle. I wouldn't call it a challenge. It's just learning each other. And so it's not just within the staff, it's the staff learning what the players need, the players learning the staff's approach to those type of things. And I think it's been I think it's been fun. I think at the beginning it was a little exhausting. I'm not going to lie. I'm just trying to figure everyone out and all of that. But I think we're in a really good spot. I think we have really, really consistent energy. And I think that it's just fun and exciting. And so I think we're all looking forward to going to battle together this weekend.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Dudley.
Coach, you got a lot of pitching options. You got a lot of games these next 2 weeks. Kind of talk about the approach of entering the season and how you're going to go about getting them all work.
Yeah, we have a deep staff. We have a great pitching staff, one that complements each other really well. I think what we've been working on a ton leading up to this first weekend is just how we're going to use them together and getting them as comfortable as possible in all of the roles, instead of just what those typically defined roles of maybe a starter and a reliever, of just getting them used to really working together, coming in for short spurts, staying in longer. And so I think that's the thing that we're looking to this weekend is us getting really comfortable in utilizing them all together and making those changes and staying ahead of it. But we've really dove into not just our pitcher strengths, but just what the opposing offenses match up with and just trying to line that up as best we can so that we're ready to make the adjustments as needed.
Also, Riley mentioned you as being a great coach, and certainly the record's there, but she also mentioned that you were a great example of a strong, independent woman for the team. When you hear that kind of stuff right there, does that just make you know you're doing things right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I hope that they look at me that way. I hope that I'm setting an example to them of what it looks like. And so when you hear that, I think I just kind of smile. It's very kind. And I just, obviously when you're in this position, you hope that they look at you in that way, and that you can be that role model for them as females at this time. It's a really tough time to be females and female athletes, and the scrutiny and the social media. And so if I can be a voice for them to be strong and independent, then that makes me feel really good.
Last question. Obviously, you've got a good field down there. Talk about the field this weekend at Boca Raton.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, we have a really stacked field, a really tough first day, as you know, as we would want. I mean, I feel like our non-conference tournaments as a whole are incredibly challenging. I think they're going to test us. And I'm looking forward to this first weekend. All 5 teams, we know their staffs very well. We know that their teams are going to be well prepared. We know that there's going to be some really good challenges. And so I think that's the thing, is going into a 5-game, 5-opponent weekend is just more than anything, just really focusing on us and focusing on what we really do well, and just battling together no matter what's thrown at us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler?
Yeah, beyond just this weekend, I mean, you mentioned five games, 5 different opponents. The next 2 weeks, really, I mean, you're playing, I think it's like 10 games in 10 days here across 2 different states, both of which are plane rides. I mean, beyond just, the win-loss column, how important is this beginning to the season just to building up this team as a group?
Well, I'm not going to lie that the wins are really important too, but it's the growing and the responding that I'm really looking forward to seeing us. I'm just really looking forward to seeing us grow and respond. I mean, we're going to have some challenges. We're going to be tested. We're going to have some things thrown at us that aren't expected or ideal. And ultimately, those are the strongest teams, are the ones that don't flinch when that happens and just get stronger. It's what we've been preaching. It's what we've been working on. And so now it's exciting that we get to face another team and see what they throw at us, and see how we respond. And hopefully we win some games along the way too.
I also wanted to ask you just about Hannah coming into her senior year here. I got to talk to her earlier. She said that you're basically like a mom to her. I mean, what has that relationship been like for you, and just getting to watch her grow on and off the field?
It is. We have a really close relationship. I think if you know Hannah, you love Hannah just for who she is. She wears her heart on her sleeve. Just being around Hannah, she has no personal boundaries. So whether it's space or information, and so we've had that relationship from day one, and I value it a ton. I cherish it a ton. I loved being in her corner. I loved seeing her grow and mature and find her voice, and just find her passion. And so it's tough. We sit and she's like, I just can't believe this is the last year. And it goes so quickly. But I do think that I just am incredibly proud of who she is, what she's made of this opportunity. And again, I know I said this earlier, it's not easy. It's not easy being in the public image of having so many look up to you, so many have an opinion about you. And I just think she's handled all of it with just a ton of grace. And so I'm just really proud of her, and hoping more than anything that this is her best year yet, because she deserves that.
Jacob?
Hey, Coach, you've mentioned a couple of times, looking forward to seeing how your team handles adversity. I was just wondering, how important when it comes to handling early season adversity is it to lean on, obviously the host of leaders and key returners you have, and how helpful is that in that regard?
Oh, it's critical. It's critical for them to take the charge. In that, we obviously want to see the young ones step up. But a lot of times, those older ones have the experience of, hey, we've been there, we've done this. You know, this is how we get through it. This is what we need to do. We need to lean into each other. We need to trust each other. And so yeah, it's absolutely critical. I think we have a really strong core of older, experienced players, and we are absolutely going to expect them to lead us through those tough times. Yes.
And then when we talked to you a month ago, you mentioned obviously being really happy with how the freshman class was coming along. And you mentioned, you know, going through a couple freshman growing pains, but coming along really well. You know, a month after the fact, you know, a couple days away from the season, you know, how do you evaluate that group and where they are heading into the season?
I'm really happy with where they are. I think that they did go through some of those growing pains. I think it's also the transition of understanding the level of softball we play versus what, like, the travel ball and what things you can get away with there, you're not going to get away with here, and just understanding the pace of the game and the level of the game, and also just at the very base level, just having a really strong trust and belief in yourself. And so I think that we've seen them come through that, and I think that this is the most settled and confident that we've seen them. And more than anything, I think they're ready to embrace whatever role they have, and to add value in whatever role we give them. And so it's a fun group. It's a lot of different personalities, but they just bring so much to the team. And I'm just really happy with the growth that they've had in this short amount of time.
And last thing for me, I just wanted to ask about Coach Gasso. What has he brought to the coaching staff and just the team overall since arriving?
Well, just beyond his knowledge and just how he delivers information, he just brings this consistent energy and just level of expectation that he holds everyone to, the standards he holds everyone to, and you just know what you're going to get every day with him. And as much as he can focus on one thing, he can focus on 4 things at once when he's watching the field. And so I just think that he's been a tremendous addition. And I think that for me, sometimes I have to get myself okay, turn it on, let's go, be outgoing. He just lives his life that way. He knows no stranger. He could talk to the wall and fully engage the wall. And so it's just so nice for him to just bring this just high level energy, knowledge, and everything that he brings on a daily basis. It's been really fun.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ethan?
Yeah, Courtney, of course, Kylie played such a good first base last year. I know in the fall and stuff we saw her playing second, just with how the roster is this year. How have you seen, is that still what she's doing? And have you seen her maybe grow in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big challenge. It's first and second, although it's on the same side of the field, it's such a different position, different demand. We run our defense through that position. And I think for us, it was just imperative for us to find a way to have Kylie, Bree, and Rylan in the lineup. And so for that to happen, someone was going to have to move and embrace a new position. And we looked at it going, it's got to be Kylie. And I think at the beginning, she was a little resistant, not for any other reason other than just her level of comfort and level that she played first base at. And from the time we really challenged her and said, hey, this is going to be for you. If you can do this, it's our best version of us. It's our strongest version of us. It's what the team needs. And from that point, she never looked back. And she's transitioned seamlessly. I mean, what Kylie does is she anchors our defense. She anchors our infield. She understands the game at a really high level, and she has a way of relating with everyone around her. And so she's that calming force in the infield. And so the nice thing is kind of, she's almost more accessible to everybody there. And so we've seen that kind of spread across the field. And so I'm just really proud of her. When you're in your last year and you've done so well at a position and you played at a high level, and then your coaches go and ask you to do something else, you could just kind of look and be like, you got to be kidding me. But she is incredibly selfless. She'd do anything for the team. And she is that she's that piece there, like that she kind of made everything come together, and she's doing an incredible job there.
Justin?
Yeah, Courtney, I want to talk a couple of things about the offense. You're about just over, I guess, 48 hours from filling out your first lineup card. How confident are you right now that you know what you're going to fill out in those spots in the lineup card, and how much you're going to think about that on the plane ride down to Boca right now?
Oh no, I'm confident.
Okay.
Am I going to
Well,
tell you? I'm not going to tell you, but
no, I do want to know who's going to lead off.
oh, well, you'll just have to wait and see, Justin.
Oh, that's what I had a feeling that was coming.
Haha.
Now, I do
We
have
do have a lot of tools, and it's going to be really nice to be able to utilize speed with back control, with big boppers, to really handling zones. So I just think it's such a good combination of speed, production, and power.
how much will you play around with that lineup early? Maybe different positions in the lineup, if not defensively. How much will you play around, and how much will you try to get into a rhythm pretty quickly?
Good question. I don't know how much we'll play around with it early. I think especially within our top 6 or 7, I think we know who those players are going to be. And the playing around we would make within that top 7 isn't going to be anything major. It'd probably just be moving around the Breeze and the Rylands and the hand gams of just trying to find that right combination. But it's I think what we'll see is kind of more in a couple positions of just trying to see a couple different, really, ones that are 1A, 1B right now, of seeing them in like shortstop position or catching or those positions, and kind of filling that bottom of the order up.
And then I know kind of your reputation is the Bogle Bombers. But you go down to Boca, it's not just a home run paradise down there. So I'm curious, what do you want to see from your offense? If you don't hit 1,000 home runs this weekend, what do you want to see from your offense in this first weekend without home runs? What do you want to learn about them in this week 1?
Well, I don't know how the ball flies in Boca. We haven't been there since like year 2. So we'll see. We'll see tomorrow night. We get to maybe do a few swings on the field and see the ball fly. I think what you're going to see is a really complete offense. An offense that's not going to rely on the long ball, but has a lot of tools in their offensive kit of just manufacturing and just being really, really comfortable and confident in all of those things. So I think we definitely have the long ball. It's not going to be the end all be all for us, but it's definitely a huge player in our offense.
Thanks.
Eric, wrap us up.
Sure. I promise no lineup questions here, but I will ask you.
You still wouldn't get the answer anyway.
I understand. That's why I'm not going to try it. But I will ask you this.
Okay.
Is this on paper, and I understand you haven't played a game yet, but on paper going in, do you feel this is the most talented, deepest offensive personnel that you've had since you've been there?
I think it competes for it, for sure. I think it's hard to sit here today and look back at a couple years ago when you had KB Sides, Danielle Gibson, Lenny Malkin, Hangam, all of that lineup, Taylor Ellsworth. It's hard to look at this lineup and say that it's deeper and stronger. But I think this lineup gives that lineup a run for its money. I'll say that. And I think that was probably the strongest lineup that we've had. So it'll be interesting. I think we have more tools. And so it's just how those come together and see what they do. But it'll be fun for them to compete for that title, for sure.
You mentioned that you haven't been to Boca since, you said, year 2? Your second
I think
year?
so. I
Wow.
don't think we've been there since my second year here. So 7 years ago?
That's a while.
I know.
I'm curious. You mentioned it. Do you reach out to maybe other coaches or that have coached there, or people that have been there, played in that stadium, to get some advanced, knowledge of it, or you just wait till you get there and find out for yourself when you practice there?
We wait and see when we get there. We'll walk around. At the end of the day, it doesn't change a lot of what we do. And so we just kind of get a feel for the field, whether it's just walking a loop around it, getting the feel, taking it all in. And then at the end of the day, it's just about us playing our game, no matter where that is. So nope, we'll see what it's like tomorrow night. And if we don't get a good feel, then we'll see what it's like come game time on Thursday. We'll be ready to go.
Do you reach out for advice on where to eat, like where to go to food, or where like I'm curious, like how that, when you've never been there, like in a while, it's different than when you go to SEC places. You know all the places by now, having gone there many times. But
Well,
when you go somewhere like there,
I can't ask Jordan because she's way too bougie for us. So I don't know. We ask our other teams here of like, when they went there sometimes, or just trying to find, we give a lot of family time. So it's not a ton of, big team meals and stuff. So, we're actually kind of navigating through that a little bit today. So we'll see.
all right. Well, we both have mutual friends that you could ask who have been there recently for food advice. But
Okay.
a big story, obviously, this year in softball. I'd be remiss if I don't ask you. This is, you're going to be in Arizona in a couple of weeks. This is the final year of the Pac-12 as we know it. And I have to ask you, as someone who played in that league, who's won national titles, and obviously you're focused on what you're doing, but that's a huge story in the sport. How strange is that for you as somebody that played in the Pac-12?
It's just really strange for the staple that they've been in the softball world for so long. It's just really, really strange. So I think I think it's a new time in college athletics. It's a new time in college softball. And so it's strange, it's sad. And it's just really interesting to see now those West Coast teams have to travel across country to play conference. It doesn't make sense to me. But I don't know. I played in the Pac-10 days and then it turned to the Pac-12. I thought that was odd. And so, I think all of us adjust, but we talk about it here of just like recruiting and just kind of wanting our players to know they leave a legacy. And the best thing you can do is recruit so that when you're my age, and you say, I played for the Arkansas Razorbacks, people know that it's a strong softball program and it's still known and you helped build that. And so when you think about, gosh, shoot, next year or in 5 years, when I say I played at Cal in the Pac and some are going to be like, what's the Pac? It's mind blowing to me because of the staple that they've been in college softball. And so it's sad. It's sad and strange and all those things.
Last question, as you get into this weekend, what is one or two things that you want to make sure, obviously you want to win and things, but just from the personnel, from an execution standpoint, what are one or two things that you're like, no matter what, we need to be sharp in blank?
Well, no matter what, we need to be sharp on our defense. I think that's the pieces of just not giving up more than they earn. I think that's been a point of focus for us, and always, but in the last week or two of just really harping on them, of just playing the tempo that the game is asking you to play. And also just knowing, with our staff, they're gonna feed our defense. They're gonna trust our defense, and so making those plays. And then I think that's the question more on our side, is just making sure that we're sharp in our decision making of using our pitchers together, and getting up to speed and as comfortable with that as we can, as quickly as we can.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.